Hello, hello, hello. I'd like to share with you a great thing that just happened to me. You see, it's early in the morning, as you can tell, and excuse the, I don't know what it is. But anyway, so, it's a natural addiction. As a Jew, I want to see the news, what's going on in Israel. And even though I go to the website that I'm most comfortable that the information is true, I find that whenever you go to the news, the same thing happens. You get depressed. Why? Because there are only three possibilities in this life. One is something productive. Now, this is so critical. If you want to be happy in life, you have to listen to the end of what I'm telling you. One is something productive. Think about for a second three things that are productive. If I had to think about three things that are productive, it's productive to give, it's productive to study Torah, it's productive to pray with deep intent, meaning you listen to the words you're saying. We have Jewish prayers and they're inspirational. Those are productive things to do. Now, I want you to think about three things that are unproductive to do. So, all the news, all the media, all those things are unproductive. And even if you're, in the West, we're very into having fun. The word for fun does not exist. Think about what I'm saying to you. The word fun, an entire language, the Jewish people, they're called the people of the book. What we're known for is, as one speaker I brought to the university I was teaching in said, Jews have been accused of everything, communists, capitalists, you name it. But no one accused us of being stupid. Right? So the Jewish head is known to be a good head. So a head is connected to words. There is no word for fun. I remember coming to my grandfather, and he was already retired. He was a multimillionaire. He was a holy rabbi. And it's 20 years into his retirement. And he was studying some Chumash, the Bible, just in the morning. And I wanted to speak to him. So I said, Zaidi, bist du vernommen? Zaidi, are you busy? So he said, a Yid is allemol vernommen. A Jew is always busy. I want you to think about what that means. Either in life, this is so critical. Either in life, you're being productive or you're being unproductive. And there is never a moment, and shouldn't be like a kind of a panic. Oh, I got to be productive. But you cannot feel good from being unproductive. I have a friend, very holy Jew, Yuval, and he says, I am like my creator. I always must be creating. I always must be creative. It's a very important thing in life to be creative. In fact, I knew someone who was kind of addicted to drugs for a while. And so what's the problem is, how are you able to look at yourself? Let's say a person's addicted to drugs. Yeah, he had money. You can say everything's fine, but nothing is fine. There was a guy, he was a former drug addict, and then he became a counselor. He told me that putting on tefillin in the morning is the best drug. It's better than any drug that he ever took. How come? Because you put on tefillin, you connect to God, you're doing something productive. The Rebbe speaks about time. What is time? Time is not something that you measure. This is really what Einstein's theory of relativity is. They say only 12 people really understood it. I must be from those 12. The theory of relativity, sort of as Einstein explained it. Now, this is the greatest theory that ever came, equals MC squared. But what does it mean? What does it mean, relativity? The theory of relativity. Relative to what? What are we talking about? The theory of relativity effectively tells us, as Einstein himself explained it, he said, if you're sitting on a hot stove a minute feels like an hour. And if you're having a great conversation, an hour feels like a minute. What Einstein discovered, which is really quite obvious, is that things, to us at least, are not absolute. Things depend. And that's why you use the word relative. It's relative. The experience is relative. So you can go a whole year watching video games, and it breaks my heart the hundreds of millions of hours of good people spent on video games. It's not productive. It cannot make you feel good. You cannot walk away from a year of doing that and feeling good. And if I can use myself as an example, if I go to sleep tonight or nightly, I feel very good about myself. Why? Because there are many things that I do. I'm not trying to brag, God forbid, but I just want to bring out an example. I run a blog. I've got a YouTube channel. I have a Torah class. I have translations that I do. What else do I do? I try to study some Torah. Obviously, I do the daily prayers. I visit my parents. I connect with my children. Unfortunately, I'm divorced, so I can't say I give it to my wife, but obviously I make money and I help her in that way. And so these are all things that I do on a daily basis. And so therefore, how am I not meant to feel good about myself? Because I'm being productive. And that's the point. The point is either in life you're being productive or you're being unproductive. And unfortunately, there's a worse stage than unproductive. This is the worst possible scenario. And there are only these three scenarios in life. There are no other scenarios. Everything that anybody ever has, is, and will do falls into these categories of productive, unproductive. And the third, unfortunately, is destructive. And that is when people are motivated by jealousy. That's the basis of anti-Semitism. Sometimes people that don't have experience in life, they look at somebody like Hitler and even somebody like Obama, and when you look at the sum total of what Obama did, so generally speaking, he was a very destructive person. He created a war in Syria. He created a war in Libya. I mean, these countries are still in a civil war. This is like 10 years. Who asked him to get involved? He created, I'm just bringing out an example here. He created basically a coup in Egypt, and then the Egyptian government had to take it back from the Islamic terrorists. He created unrest in America, unrest against Jews. I'm not going to go into all the things, but if you look at the sum total of what he did, like Hitler, what did he accomplish? Maybe you could say there was something that he did but it was destruction, complete destruction. And the same thing is you get movements that seem to be, and you have to be very, very careful. They seem to be kind of righteous, but they're actually destructive. And the reason people become destructive, and that's anti-America, basically all these anti-movements, anti-wealth, anything anti is destructive. Why? Because, you see, when God made the world, he made a beautiful world, but he made it in a way that we have to construct it, make it better. That's the secret. When God put man in the Garden of Eden, he said, l'sakin, to fix it, always make it better. And, unfortunately, some people are basically jealous. And this, like Black Lives Matter. I want to ask you a question. Is it destructive? Is it productive? Because every single thing in the world is either productive, unproductive, or destructive. It's obviously not productive, and it's obviously not unproductive. It's not like doing nothing, so it's destructive. And hate is an emotion that is felt. Now, hate can come from one of two places. Either, let's say, you offend me, you did something to me, to my ego, so I'm angry at you. But if I hate you and you didn't do anything to me, that is always based on jealousy. And criticism, and this is a super critical thing to understand. whenever I criticize you, whenever I see bad in you, it's actually because I want to see bad in you. And I'll give you an example of this. Somebody, I don't know, a guy, it's normal for guys, he's horny, so he sees a beautiful woman. Why does he see a beautiful woman? Because he wants to see a beautiful woman. And the same thing in the opposite. Let's say the person doesn't have a desire, so he won't see it. And I'll give you another example. Let's say I'm an architect. So I see architecture everywhere, but I'm not an architect. I don't see it. Understand, we see what we want to see. And then when a person, and this is how it works, people, unfortunately, in life have been shamed. Everybody has been bullied. It's the greatest virus that exists. It's way before Corona, and it's way more lethal than Corona. And so what happens when we become bullied is, in order to, it's called narcissistic wounding, our ego, our self-esteem has been wounded. So sometimes we create this narcissistic identity, and literally we think I'm the best, I'm the greatest, da da da. And then, where does the universe exist? Think about this. The universe exists within your head. At least your universe is all in your head. That's what Einstein said. It's all relative. He said reality is an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. So that means that in your own head, you are part of reality. When we become narcissistic, we think we are the best. And therefore, if anybody else has prestige, we think they're robbing us of our prestige. And a good example for this is, imagine a starlet. She has the leading role in a movie. And then somebody else comes, another person outshines her. So because she had the leading role, like mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all, if she didn't think she was the best, then she wouldn't be upset. Okay, I'm half beautiful, so she's more beautiful. What's the difference? But if I'm the best, that's your status, then anybody else, and that's why anti-Semitism and people that are delusional, they're anti-American, they're actually anti the people they think are the best. And that's the jealousy, the jealous factor. Now, it's very interesting. In Hebrew, the same word for hate, sina, which has in it the word no, which comes from the word un, to annihilate, also is the word for kina, jealousy. So basically, jealousy creates a hate, but it's a rationalized hate. The person, if you steal from me and I'm angry at you, I know why I'm angry. But if I'm jealous that you're better than me, and I'm really the best, the mind begins to produce falsifications. And as a Jew, this is obvious of any race that's been targeted. It's obvious that it is a false thing, because we never killed Christians or this and that. And yet, for thousands of years, there was a blood libel. So how did this come about? Because there was this jealousy, because people, again, when people are in difficult situations, they become narcissistic, and then they become jealous of anyone they think is better than them. So we have to understand, and I'm going to conclude with this, and again, I want you to understand everything that you will ever think, that you will ever say, you will ever do, that anybody ever has or is or will, is one of three things. It's either productive, and a very good rule of thumb, how do I know if something is productive or destructive? Because the people that are destructive think that they're productive. You know, right now in America, unfortunately, Obama was a very destructive person. His role models, I mean, he came from an Islamic country. The only reason I mention him is because he's influenced. Pew has a massive poll. They research all the political topography. You can check it out. 27%, 45% of the Democratic Party and their major part of they're basically Obama cult members. Whatever he believed, they believe. So, but where did Obama get his beliefs from? He was brought up in a Muslim country. He himself said the main reason he became the president was to eradicate the image of America, because he was brought up that America is evil, which is what he pretty much did. And then he had role models of this guy called the Weatherman terrorist. The guy was a terrorist, anti-America. And then what was he involved in? He went to Reverend Wright's church. The guy was totally anti-America, anti-Semite. So this is what's going on in this man's brain. And now there are a lot of people, like this recent war against Israel. So the Nazis are killing Jews, and people are supporting the Nazis, even Jews. It's unbelievable. Why? Because they've been brainwashed that this that these people are justified. So it's unbelievable, because that's the way we work. When we have a role model, we listen, we think that what they're saying is true. But here's how you can tell if somebody's productive or destructive. It's very critical, because again, imagine you were a communist and people were idealistic. They thought they were communists, but communism itself was a destructive movement. It wasn't to help the poor. It was to get rid of the rich. You see, it was an anti-rich movement. It wasn't a pro-poor movement. It wasn't to uplift the poor. Again, this Black Lives is not about Black lives. You care about Black lives, so make sure that people don't get murdered in the ghetto. That's what's going on now. The blacks are killing blacks. That's where the Black lives get killed. However, it's anti-white. It's an excuse of going against white, because jealousy creates that hatred. So Reb Nachman Mendel of Kotz, one of the greatest greatest geniuses, one of the things he said, just so you get an appreciation for how clever he was, he says, if I am I because I am I, and you are you because you are you, then I am I and you are you. But if I am I, if my identity is based on you, and you are you because I am I, your identity is based on me, then I am not I and you are not you. A person has to be themselves. You have to think for yourself. Otherwise, you don't exist. You're just a robot. So please listen very carefully to what I'm saying. Reb Nachman Mendel of Kotz said, what is the difference between a person who loves love, because that's where the productive state is, love, and a person who hates hate? And it seems so similar. He hates hate. He's against hate. Hate is a terrible thing. But he hates hate. That's the destructive. So you see, and I've been there, so I know this internally. I'm not a higher than thou person. I'm not preaching to anyone. I'm telling you facts that I've gone through myself. When we're radical, and it's not that we're wrong, sometimes we're right that there is hate, but if I am hating hate, if I am angry and I'm trying to put down another group, the problem is that my focus is negative. And it could just be. Now, sometimes it's appropriate, even in the Torah. The Torah is all about love and forgiveness. It says to hate Amalek, a tribe that wants to annihilate the Jewish people. When you see evil, and unfortunately we have Arab terrorists, we have Islamic radicals that really want to blow up the world, and you should hate them. Because if you don't, basically Britain, Churchill was a genius, and he saw Hitler. He said, get rid of this guy. In fact, it was what's called the Treaty of Versailles. Germany wasn't allowed to rearm. That's their problem. They're very arrogant, and they can't handle anyone else. That's exactly what we said. But the people, nobody wanted to deal with it. And so until the bombs started to fall. So when you see evil, people that are hurting others, that want to destroy others, you should hate them. You should get rid of them. But that shouldn't be your focus in life. Your focus in life should be love. And that's the key. Somebody like Obama, and again, I'm not saying this because I care about him. I really don't care about him. I'm saying this to bring out a point. What was his main focus? His main focus, what was wrong with everyone else? What was the main focus of Hitler? What was wrong with everyone else? Main focus of BDS and black. What's wrong with everyone else? Your goal is what's right with everyone else. Or at least the mechanism to make the world a better place. Like I met this guy, a neighbor of mine, an African American. We were discussing, and of course it's very close to his heart to uplift people. He's a good guy. He does a lot of good. So he's speaking about money, this and that. I said, money is the source of all blessings. Take the richest people in the world. They give the most money. They do the most good. So the point of the matter is that it's a question of your own heart. It's not a question of the tools. Everything in this world can be used for a productive reason, for an unproductive reason, or for a destructive reason. And that's like your computer. That's your body. That's money. Everything. If I want to, I can use it for productive reasons. And everything God made in this world, He made it for a productive reason. So the internet is here, and the Rebbe, our greatest prophet, many of us believe he will be the Messiah, he told us in advance about the development of the internet, and he said it's here. So first of all, you can give people advice around the world. Even me, I'm a very small little cog on the wheel, but some people turn to me and I offer advice. He said an amazing thing. Also that you can give charity to anyone in the world. The amount of charity that's being given is brilliant, it's beautiful. So if I tell you the internet is evil, oh really? Which internet? There's parts of the internet that's evil. Pornography, which degrades women, and as studies show, make men aggressive and debased and mean, that is evil. A hate site, that is evil. But charity, teaching, that is good. Wasting my time on video games, let's call it evil, because my life, we all have a limited amount of time to be here. So my friends, the one thing that we have is a limited amount of time. The only way we're going to be happy is if we are using it in productive ways. Please, please, right now, write down your top things that you wish to be productive in. Forget about everything else. Forget about your gaming. Forget about your anger. Forget about it, because that's not going to make you or the world happier. Focus only on the productive things. And do me a favor, write down below, what are your top productive things? Inspire other people. Let's make a movement of productivity. Let's make a movement of success, a movement that we can build the world, a movement of pride. Please forward this video. And if you need to inspire yourself, watch it 100 times, because we get so much information. We got to download this information. There's only productive, there's unproductive, there's destructive. Let's be God's army of productivity. And let's copy Yuval, who says, I am like my creator. I am creative. I am loving. I am productive. I love you. Please be your most productive self.